Hi guys, my name is Katie Johnson. You may know me as Katie Made That in the online world. And today I'm going to teach you a little tutorial on how I do monoline lettering in Procreate. Okay, so the very first thing that you're going to need to do is obviously create a canvas in Procreate. It depends on what you are creating, for what size your canvas you're going to want to use, but for purposes of this tutorial, I'm just using a canvas that's set to my screen size. So the first thing I'm going to do is pick a background color. Let's just go with something like this. And now I have my first layer. So I always start by creating guides, and I pretty much always use this 6B pencil for like everything that I do. I love it. And I think it is such a versatile tool. I mean, you use the pencil for everything in real life, and it is just as versatile in Procreate. So you can see I'm making my guides. Let's do a script that has some lowercase letters in it. So this is going to be my baseline. This is my X height. And then I'm going to duplicate another layer and make a cap height. Okay, so then I typically merge all of those together, and I turn this background guides layer way down so I can see it, but it doesn't distract me. So my method for doing simple monoweight script lettering is really like kind of stupid simple, but maybe it's a different way for you to think about going about creating your lettering. So I duplicated this 6B pencil to make just literally a fatter version of that pencil. And I used this to make basically the skeleton for my lettering. And then I come back in with this 6B pencil and basically like clean all the edges up and everything. So let's go ahead and create our skeleton, or the basic foundation of our lettering. So I'm selecting this pencil, and I have Streamline turned on because I really like the help of the program smoothing my lines in the very beginning. It just kind of removes some work that I have to do. So I'm working on a separate layer above my guides, and I'm gonna test out some different weights and see what feels right. Okay, I like that weight as like a base, so I'm gonna go ahead and use that. We can pretend that we're lettering the word hello or something, but I'll just do LO for purposes of this tutorial. So we could also, for guides, add some at an angle, because when you slant a script, you want to keep your angle consistent. However, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of freehand things because this is a shorter word. So what I'm trying to do is keep my pressure fairly consistent when I'm creating this skeleton lettering. And I'm not going quite to the cap height. Usually, sometimes script letters can go all the way to the cap height, but sometimes they actually have a shorter height. Okay, that O's kind of bonky. I just erase and redo things like all the time. I'll just constantly be hitting this guy. So if you're doing that, don't feel bad, that's what it's for. Okay, so now what I'm doing is just kind of taking this big old pencil and trying to like even out the weight as much as I can, because monoweight literally means one weight. Mono is one. And so there's a couple things to note though about monoweight. With this, what I'm doing right now is I took an eraser that's on the same, well, it's actually on the 6B small pencil brush. So I'm just going in and taking away in areas that are too thick and adding to areas that are too thin. But what you also want to consider with monoweight is where like joints of different letters meet. For example, between this L and O, or between the E and the L. So right here, you're actually going to want to make these parts that touch just a little bit thinner than everywhere else. And I know that kind of runs counterintuitive to Monoweight, but visually, because everything's meeting in the same place, it's going to look thicker, even though it's not. So you have to like extra compensate in that situation and make those areas secretly thinner. You're the only one who is really gonna know that. Okay, so I would keep adding and taking away weight until it's starting to feel more accurate. I just constantly am zooming in on my letters. This area definitely needs some help. So I'll fill that in a little bit. Sometimes I like to keep some of this texture where you can see the pencil didn't fully cover the area, because the texture gives it a little bit more character. Okay, so this does not have to be perfect at this point. You just want a nice base to add on top of. And once you've got your base, literally all that I do is go in with the smaller 6B pencil and correct the edges and anything like that. So let's just go ahead and dive into that. You can either make a duplicate of this or make a layer on top if you don't want to, like, if you want to preserve this layer. Okay, so I'm going to select my smaller 6B pencil and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And so this is just for like edge cleanup. So all that I'm doing is tracing along the edges that I already have, getting rid of, with my eraser tool, anything that is going a little bit too crazy. You can make your brush as small as you want and zoom in as far as you possibly can. The smaller your brush is and the more zoomed in you are, the cleaner it's gonna look. So if you want to keep some of these like more raw pencil-y edges, just make your brush bigger and keep some of that character in. Okay, so you can start to see how these lines are becoming a little bit more consistent. And one thing that you can do to preserve some like inner texture, or to add some more inner texture, is, here, let me just finish this little bit. Okay, so there's definitely more that I can do in this method, but for purposes of keeping this quick and to the point, you're getting the idea, I assume. Okay, so what I can do for extra texture on the interior is I can go into my brush, get my 6B pencil, streamline off, and I can just erase inside, kind of random like this. So I'm trying to create like a bit of just see-through area that I can then go back in with my 6B pencil with streamline off, and I can just color it back in. But what I'm trying to do is not be perfect, because this is going to create some of the really nice texture that makes this look kind of sketched or even stamped, because a lot of times a stamp texture will have clean edges where the stamp fully pressed down onto the paper, and then the inside will be not fully inked. So yeah, I just kind of like randomly do crisscrosses and fill this guy back in. And you can do that across your whole lettering, and it just gives some more interesting texture. See that? So yeah, that's how I would finish doing the rest of the lettering as well, just trying to keep things as even as possible, but it definitely does not have to be perfect. This type of lettering is pretty forgiving as long as you're generally within the same width. So that's literally my whole process for doing monoline script lettering. I hope it's been helpful for you in just thinking about the process in a different way, and I would love to see how you apply this to your next lettering project.